Hey folks, this week I found myself putting together a little cheap system for a friend. What's so cheap and small about it? Well, instead of the usual power guzzling frame pusher, he wanted something simple, and he's already supplied this GTX 1050. And since we're just fresh off the back of rebenching my own GTX 1050 Ti for the HD 7870 XT video, I thought it would be rude not to at least check that the 1050 actually worked in my system. So for reference, the system is the Core i5-4590 with 8GB of RAM, and the baseline settings for all games tested is going to be a resolution of 1920x1080 on a high preset with FxAA and 16 times anisotropic filtering. So let's jump into the results and see what the difference between the Vanilla GTX 1050 and the 1050 Ti is. But before that, remember to like, share and subscribe for more videos like this. So the first game I hopped into today was Fallout 4. Determined not to get sucked back into this game, I thought it would be best to get it out of the way first. To kick things off, the Ti here came in with an average frame rate of 56 FPS and lows of 47. Being an older title, the 1050, it almost manages to keep pace with the Ti here with an average of 48 and the average minimums coming in at just under 40. Now, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and it can be a taxing game, but the 1050 Ti here again nudges past the 1050 with averages in the mid 60s, whereas the Vanilla 1050 was stuck in the mid to low 50s. Average minimums were a little bit more consistent between the two cards, but the 1050 came in at just under 40 FPS. Both highly playable though, and you could really match the frame rate seen on the Ti by dialing back a few of the more intensive settings. Now, Wolfenstein 2, it's a game which looks great and runs well even on the budget Ti. The averages here range in the mid 60s and the average minimums come in at the mid 50s. It's a great experience. The Vanilla 1050, it does struggle a little here though, with an average frame rate of 51 and similar drops in the lows. Still, it's a fairly high setting, and dropping the detail down a notch means that 60 FPS smoothness at all times is possible with either card. Battlefield 1 returned a similar gap for the 1050 and the 1050 Ti, with the Ti pushing out 60 FPS on average compared to the 1050's 49. Average minimums at these settings were around about the mid 40s in the Ti, with the 1050 returning values in the mid to upper 30s. And it should be noted that on this test setup, broadly speaking, it was the same kind of results we were getting whether it was multiplayer or single player. And just like a lot of the other games tested here, if you dial back to the preset, then things start looking a lot better for the 1050. But now the amazingly optimised Prey, and once again we can see that Prey is a game where even low-end hardware can shine. The Vanilla 1050 results are unsurprisingly eclipsed by the Ti, but the results are 74 FPS on average, and lows in the 50s means that there's headroom to mix it up with the settings and keep a smooth gameplay experience. So I've already harped on quite a lot on this channel that CRYSIS 3 loves the 1050 Ti, and it looks like it's quite fond of its less capable sibling too. Averages for the Vanilla 1050 settled in at the upper 50s, with the Ti being a tad over 60 FPS. Minimums for both cards stayed in the 40s too, and this was actually the smallest deficit between the two cards that I've seen during testing. But seeing how good CRYSIS 3 looks on even the medium preset, my advice would probably be dialing back the settings to that, and then you would see a nice jump in frame rates in the more frantic scenes of the game. Finally, to round things off, we loaded up PUBG. The 1050 Ti happily overtook the Vanilla 1050 again with an average of 49, while the average minimums came in at just below 30 FPS. Things look a little bit bad for the 1050 here, but it's not like anyone plays this game on high anyway. Dropping back to the low settings, which most people will be playing on, the 1050 Ti is going to return more than playable frame rates. So which card offers more bounce for the ounce? Well, taking an average of all the games tested, the performance of the 1050, it works out around 85% of what you're going to get with the Ti. And taking into account the new prices of about £105 for the 1050 and £130 for a really cheap 1050 Ti, it's a close call, which should really come as no surprise to anyone watching this. Both cards are GP107 based, with the 1050 simply being a cut down 1050 Ti. Stateside, it's a similar situation at $110 for the 1050 and $140 for the Ti. Speaking strictly on the results seen, the 1050 does statistically offer the most immediate value. In saying that though, it's likely that the 1050 Ti is going to offer the better value in terms of longevity, with its slightly more powerful hardware having the potential to offer acceptable performance for a longer period of time. What it does highlight though is just how poor a value a lot of the fancier gaming focused cards are. I mean, these GPUs run cool and quiet and are easily kept in check by the smallest of heatsinks and fans, so those cards with big twin fans and expensive shrouds and a lot of premium style gimmicks, well, they just don't add any performance benefits, and the more you spend, the worse value these cards actually are. If you really want a 1050 series card, simply choose the model, TI or Vanilla, and then find the absolute cheapest SKU you can and call it a day. If it were me though, and I needed to buy a GP107 card for some reason, at this point I would be looking at the used market. At the end of 2017, most used TIs are still likely to be less than a year old and can sometimes be had for the price of a new 1050. And it doesn't take me to tell you that that is going to be a much better value than either of these cards new. So there we have it folks, a quick look at the performance of the little Pascal in both its Vanilla and TI variants. It should be noted that there are some gains to be had when overclocking these cards, but the owner of the 1050, he wanted to keep things stocked, so we're just going to have to push the TI card higher in isolation in a future video. But for now, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you all in the comment section down below, and in the next video.